it just had me thinking like, well, how can I tell you guys to indulge in self-care when that's not even working for me? I think a lot of times we use kind of self-care as a band-aid. The reality is that you can get burnt out from your self-care as well. And it's like, what do you do when self-care is not working? Hey everybody, it's Sharmel. Welcome back to Locs Lux Lifestyle. Welcome back to another video. If you enjoy lock content, lifestyle content, and self-help and self-development content, then make sure to hit that subscribe button because I do a little bit of all of that. And if you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for tuning in, and don't forget to hit that like button. So today I am here with another chit chat video, and I am going to be talking about burnout, how to prevent it, how to manage it, and everything in between. So let's get into today's video.
As the sun shines on all of my glory, my flaws don't look so bad at all. What was I so afraid of?
So burnout is something I think we all experience at some point in our lives. And if you don't know what burnout is simply a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. It occurs when you feel overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to meet constant demands. So I have been wanting to do a video like this, or at least with this topic, for a while. But I don't know, something about my notes wasn't coming together, and I just could never formulate what exactly I wanted to say. However, these last couple of weeks, I have been going through a phase of a little burnout. And I think since I'm like in it right now, I thought this was the perfect time to get this video out. And I just felt like I was able to get my thoughts together. And it's a combination of things. For one, outside is open. And ever since outside open, I've been outside. And so I've just been doing a lot, from traveling and things like that. I've been going to a lot of social things, and I think my body is just a little tired from doing all of that. But I do think there are some other things that have been contributing to my burnout this time around. So in general, I am a very like all or nothing type of person. Like, I'm 100% head first committed all the way in it, or I'm like completely disinterested. So that's definitely something I've personally had to work on, just like the balance of things, just so that I don't reach a point of burnout. And I can honestly say, like, this certain like little phase of burnout, it's not that I don't feel like doing anything, but I just don't feel like doing what I don't feel like doing, if that makes sense. So usually, you know, we all have our different responsibilities and things of that nature, and usually, like, even if it's something that I don't want to do, I'll muster up some energy to push through it and get it done. But these last couple of weeks, if it's something I don't want to do, like, it's just been kind of getting tossed to the side. Like, I'll deal with it when I find the energy to deal with it. Maybe 3 weeks ago, I was just like super on it. Like, I was just doing so much. And then it's like, once I get tired of doing so much, like, I just completely drop everything. So I've been really trying to figure out how to balance it all. It's so funny because I had wrote these notes out like last week. You guys know, if you've been watching some of my chit chat videos, I've been talking a lot about self-care. The theme for this year for me has just been like prioritizing my self-care, putting me first, making sure that I replenish my cup, all of those good things. So when I wrote out the notes for this video, obviously when I was gonna start it, I couldn't give you tips for burnout without talking about self-care. And so in my notes, I had like self-care as my first talking point, and I was gonna give you guys some self-care tips. However, when I was going over my notes this morning, something about that first tip, it just wasn't feeling right. I had to take a moment and sit with myself, because I'm like, something feels off about this, and I couldn't really put my finger on it. I realized that I was having a problem talking about that first, mainly because if I was being honest with myself, and if I'm being honest with you guys, you know, I have my go-to things for self-care. Like, when I need a little oomph, when I need to do something for myself, I got a list of things that I know I can do that's gonna make me feel good in that moment. But honestly, those things have not been helping my overall feeling of burnout these last few weeks. So it just had me thinking like, well, how can I tell you guys to indulge in self-care when that's not even working for me, or it hasn't been working for me lately. I think a lot of times we use kind of self-care as a band-aid. The reality is that you can get burnt out from your self-care as well. And it's like, what do you do when self-care is not working? So I am gonna go through some of my other tips that I have for managing burnout. But before we go through there, I do think it's important that I kind of lead this video talking about like, what do you do when your self-care isn't working either, because y'all know I'm all about being transparent and just being honest. And in real life, I personally enjoy getting my nails done. I got a pedicure appointment today that I'm going to. I enjoy getting dressed up. I enjoy combing my hair and doing all of those things. But I also want to talk about what to do when those things are no longer helping you. So I think what these last few weeks have taught me as it relates to self-care and burnout is that sometimes what we think we want or need is not really what we need, and what we do need is not always what we want or feel like doing. I think that's the flip side of self-care that a lot of people don't talk about. I know for me especially, if I'm completely honest, when it comes to self-care, I always look at self-care from a space of I enjoy doing this, I want to do this, this makes me feel good, and all of those things are important, but sometimes we also need to put energy into the things that don't necessarily make us feel good in the moment, but it's good for us in totality. So I do feel like if you are experiencing burnout, you do have to just kind of take a step back and assess what's going on. Assess what changed, assess what's causing it, assess what's helping and what's not. So in my case, outside of me being outside, there were some other things that kind of changed in my day-to-day routine. So for example, many of you guys know, but if you don't know, I have been working from home for the past 2 years. About 90-95% of the time, I was still going into the office at least once a week, but for the most part, I was working from home. However, about 3 weeks ago, my schedule kind of changed, so I haven't been going to the office at all. So literally, I think 1 week from like Sunday to the following Saturday, I didn't leave the house. So I was in the house all week. And at first, you know, it felt good not having to do anything. But eventually, like these last few weeks, that's when I started to just kind of feel off, honestly. And I realized that it's because I haven't been going outside. Like, even though I was only going to the office once a week, that once a week I was out getting fresh air. I would run errands. You know, if I wanted to make a Target run, I would do that. And so I say all that to say is that we just really have to be mindful of like the things that we think don't matter. They usually do matter in helping and aiding our overall happiness and wellness. Since I do have a shift in my schedule, I now know that like staying in the house for a week is not something that I can do for long periods of time. Like I have to start, you know, scheduling some time to go out the house to do, even if it's something really simple, like I have to make sure that I incorporate that into my week, or else I get in this space of just feeling kind of like down and tired. Another tip as it relates to kind of managing your self-care as it relates to burnout. So like prayer, right? So prayer is something that I do daily, multiple times a day. And, you know, I'm used to starting my morning with prayer, ending my day with prayer. And, you know, for the most part, when I pray in the morning, have a good day. When I pray before I go to bed, give me a good night's rest. And I feel like I closed out the day properly. And then the next morning, we can start over again. However, how do I say this? I feel like a lot of like Christians, like hardcore Christians, like y'all don't be honest about stuff. And so, as much as I believe in God, as much as I plead the blood of Jesus, I am human and I go through a range of emotions. So although I prioritize my prayer, if you pray daily and regularly, it can become very repetitive. Although I was still having my prayer, I felt like my prayers wasn't really hitting like they used to, and my days was feeling kind of And I feel like some people like to act like, you know, they just have like an amazing prayer session every time they pray and they talking to God for hours. And I'm not saying that some people don't experience that, but I do feel like when you're going through a season of like burnout and you don't really have the energy for a lot of things, like honestly, it also shows up in your prayer life. And so I think because I was already feeling like this burnout, and then because I'm tired from life and something's off in life, and then when I try to pray, it's transferring over in there. And then because I don't have all the energy when I'm praying, that's a reflection in my day-to-day life. And it's just kind of like a tug of war and going back and forth. And so I say all that to say, when you're going through those periods, I think it's very important to be specific in your prayer. So you don't have to sit here and have like this whole drawn out prayer where you quoting Bible scriptures. Not saying that anything is wrong with that, but if you are kind of burnt out, it's important that you be specific. So this last week, because I knew I've been having like these feelings of burnout, I've been having to be very specific in my prayers, like, God, give me energy to get up and fold these clothes this morning. Okay, God, give me energy or the desire to want to cook dinner this evening because I really don't feel like doing nothing. God, give me the strength to get in my car and drive to the grocery store and go get groceries instead of putting the Instacart order in. Like, when you are feeling these periods of tiredness, you be specific about what you need in that moment. And so my overall point as it relates to self-care and burnout is that self-care is not always about what feels good to you in the moment, what you want to do in that moment. It also means making sure that you are keeping inventory and you are participating in things that help your overall wellness, whether you think it matters or not. And it's also about being specific about what you need in the moment so that your self-care contributes and it's in aligned with the advancement of your overall wellness. So the next thing I want to talk about for managing burnout is putting your eggs in multiple baskets. So I know we've all heard the saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket. And for the most part, I agree with that. However, what I will say is that there are definitely pros and cons to putting your eggs in multiple baskets. So the cons of putting your eggs in multiple baskets is that your time, your energy, your resources, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be stretched. And if you are not careful and you are stretching them too much, that is going to lead to burnout. I'm someone who has just multiple interests, and like I said, I'm very all or nothing. So I have to be very mindful about how I stretch my time because I know I'm prone to burnout. And honestly, I think that's really the main con when it comes to putting your eggs in multiple baskets, is that you have to really be conscious and aware of how you spread your time and your resources. And not saying that it's impossible, because a lot of people do it, but you have to have a lot of self-awareness to be able to juggle and manage it all to where you're not stretching yourself completely thin. Now, the pros of putting your eggs in multiple baskets is that you are able to diversify your resources and your time. So a lot of times, like if I'm feeling very like overworked or stressed out with like my main job, whatever I'm yearning for, I usually can find it like in my social media work. Oh, and then vice versa. Like sometimes social media can be very like inconsistent. If I need stability, I know I can find that in my 9 to 5. So yes, the main benefit of putting your eggs in multiple baskets is that you are not expecting for one thing to be the source of everything. So I feel like a lot of times, like whether it's just one specific job, we're looking to find everything in that job, the joy, the happiness, the creativity, like everything we're looking for in that job. And sometimes that job is limited in what it can provide for you. So I know, like I said, I can get my stability from my regular job. I can get that freedom and experimental stuff from like my social media stuff or doing hair and things like that. And I'm kind of able to balance it out as long as I'm not stretching myself too thin. And I'm speaking kind of about work right now. This saying is usually used for like dating, but it honestly applies to everything. So that's gonna be work, it's gonna be dating. If you're dating, don't put all your eggs in one basket. And even if you're in a relationship, I still think it's very important not to put all of your eggs in one basket. And not necessarily in a sense like keeping yourself open to date other people. But one thing that I tell people all the time that I love about the relationship that I'm currently in is that myself and my boyfriend, as much as we love each other, as much as we enjoy spending time with each other, we also have lives outside of each other. And so that way we are not, what's the word? we're not exhausting each other. One day we'll have date night. The next day I'll go out with my friends. He'll go do something with his friends. Because as much as I love him, there's certain enjoyments that I get from spending time with my friends that I don't always necessarily find with him, and vice versa. There's things that he can do with his friends that he may not get from me. And just like with him, my friends, there's certain advice that I may need to go to my mom about, who can give me advice on something that my man and my friends can't. When we don't put all of our eggs in one basket, we're not looking for one person or one thing to be the source of everything. And it goes both ways. So that way we're not feeling overextended and we're not overextending the people in our lives. And so the next thing I want to talk about while we are talking about diversifying our time and putting our eggs in multiple baskets is that make sure you also have some hobbies. Making sure you are putting some eggs in a hobby basket. And when I say hobby, I mean a true hobby, not a side hustle, not something that you are trying to turn into your main source of income. I mean something that is strictly a hobby that you do leisurely just for enjoyment. The pandemic made me really realize how many adults don't have hobbies. Like most adults, we don't have anything that we just strictly do leisurely. And it made me kind of sad. I've been personally working on trying to find more hobbies and finding things to do that I just simply enjoy. And I get it, y'all. I live a regular life just like everybody else, so I get it. I understand the need or the desire for more money, more income. Everything is so expensive now, so if you see something that you can turn into like a little side hustle to make a little more money, like I get the desire to want to do that. But I think it's also important that we find something that we can just keep simply for us, not for anything else, just simply for us. And I think because so many of us are caught up in the hustle mentality and trying to make money, we don't enjoy anything. And even as a content creator, I have to work on not trying to monetize everything. Like, be careful of trying to monetize your hobbies. It sounds good, but you don't want to start monetizing everything to the point where you don't have anything that you can do leisurely. And then my last point as it relates to burnout, and I think this is honestly like the most important thing, is that you have to ride the wave, okay? This is something that I had to tell myself these last couple of weeks, is just ride the wave. When I'm all in, like I'm giving my all 100%. And so when I'm not giving that 100% and I'm in the nothing phase, I feel guilty, you know, I feel lazy. We've been socialized from a young age that we are always just supposed to be doing something. When I'm not doing anything, I start to feel bad about it sometimes. But you know, I have to tell myself like, it's okay, this too shall pass. Again, I've experienced this before and I bounced back. And I'm gonna be all right. For instance, like a few weeks ago, I felt like I was uploading on YouTube. I was uploading at least 4 videos a week. And I was filming content, editing, posting, and you know, I was in a really good rhythm. And then when like this burnout kind of set in and I didn't really feel like doing anything, I'm like, man, I'm gonna mess up like my engagement. Like I was doing so good and now I'm not posting no more and I'm gonna mess this up. And I started to feel guilty. But most importantly, listen to your body. I feel like a lot of times we try to push past certain things. And you know, the way life inconveniences are set up, sometimes you will have to push past something. But at the same time, we have to listen to our bodies. If I don't have the energy to do it, that means that my body is telling me that I need to rest. And if my body needs to rest, then I need to honor my body and do that. I don't think we can ever completely eliminate burnout, but I do think, you know, there are ways to minimize it. And if you are going through a phase or you're experiencing burnout, you kind of just have to let it ride the wave and know that you may be down now, but you'll be back soon. So yes, that is going to be it for this video, you guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in. If you have anything you want to add to the conversation or any tips or tools you have as it relates to managing burnout, then make sure to leave a comment down below. Again, thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram, Snatched by Sharmel, and I will see you all in my next video.